right. Well, welcome to our final 2020 Free Friday webinar. My name is Michele Mott of Inspiring Solutions, and we are delighted to have such a good turnout for today's program called Navigating Your Ship Out of the COVID Storm. A few things that you might care to know about me is that I've had Inspiring Solutions as my business since 1991, specializing in healthcare. And I now provide both on-site and online talent development to clients around the country, thanks to COVID. I'm certified in everything DISC and 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. I've written a book called Attitude, The Choice is Yours, so I'm known as the Attitude Adjuster. And I live in Des Moines, Iowa, where 2 dogs and I reside. And I say that to not only introduce them, but you might be hearing them in the background. The reason that we've been doing these webinars each month is to deliver a little dose of motivation, which this year was especially important, and to expose you to one of our inspiring programs and or products. The materials that you were given ahead of time to use to take notes included a couple of worksheets, my bio for those of you who I've not had the pleasure of working with. And then as always, we want you to continue to join us. And we've created the first quarter's webinar schedule. Dana is going to be putting that link in the chat box. So if you don't have it, you can download it. And then afterwards, when you log off of the webinar, we ask for you to take a couple minutes to give us your thoughts, comments, and we also want to know what are going to be some of your needs or challenges for the upcoming year. Today's agenda, we're going to start off with an exciting announcement. Then we're going to help you reflect on your journey through 2020. We're going to give you a prescription for 3 ways to reset and refocus for 2021. And then something that new that we want to end the year, but we might continue to do into the new year, is we want to do a gift drawing. So don't leave early. Dana's got a fun, exciting way to put all of the participants' name into a drawing. So we also need to know what your names are, making sure that's on your display. So thank you for participating in the opening poll. And let me go ahead and end the poll now and then share with you what the results were. For our opening question, you can see that the question was based on the song, My True Love Gave, the gifts my true love gave to me, is that what is the 12th gift my true love gave to me? And because that's only sang once, for those of you who said drummers drumming, you are correct. Woohoo! It's 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, yada, yada, yada. And I know you all know the 5. Sing it with me.
Golden rings.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. And thank you for those that are, maybe we can't tell, but for those of you that are participating in our fun little holiday attire today. All right. So we've got some exciting news you may have just heard about in a recent email that I went out this week. Inspiring Solutions is delighted to have merged with another company, JER HR Group. They have offices in New York and North Carolina. They have working with them over 40 experienced senior consultants. For those of you who are joining us today, who are either on the team or have worked with JER HR Group, we are delighted and honored to be joining such a prominent and professional team. So together with our resources, we're going to be able to provide talent development, strategic planning, assessments, compensation, consultation, performance management, workplace engagement, HR services and support, and HR compliance. So lots of exciting things to happen in the new year. Well, speaking of this past year, COVID-19 has definitely made a mark on our personal and professional lives. Everyone has been affected, whether it was personally or professionally, whether it was your kids, whether they were in grade school or whether they were in college. And we've been in and are continuing to be in the same storm, but I realize we're not all in the same boat. We're going through it in our own way. And when you come out of this storm, you won't be the same person that you walked in. And that's really what the storm is all about. My experience, though many, started when I first boarded a flight. I think I'd taken 3 commercial flights this year, which is unusual. And as you can see, I masked up. I even wore eye protection and I wore a hoodie and gloves. We all had first class dining experience, a little bag, bottled water, and graham crackers. So all of you experienced it in some fashion. So, what I want you to do is reflect on how you were affected. Maybe you were quickly asked to work from home, or maybe you were furloughed or lost your job, or know somebody who did. Maybe you experienced a cut in pay. Your kids left school and you had to learn how to teach them a way of doing math. Maybe you were unable to and frustrated to unable to visit friends or family members, whether it was for holidays or special events. You couldn't travel. We were scheduled to take our grandkids on a cruise over Thanksgiving, and obviously we weren't able to do so. Required and truly important to wear a mask and stay 6 feet away, whether you're at the grocery store. Speaking of grocery store, you had the experience of having to stock up on hand sanitizer or the challenge of finding your supply of toilet paper. This is something that I've done for the past couple years, and I will encourage you or challenge you at the end of our webinar to think about choosing a word of intention. I do that, and then this was something that I created as a sign, and I have it in my kitchen. So my 2020 focus was minimize. That was my word of intention. And it meant a couple things. As you can see, I'm pretty transparent. I wanted to minimize debt. So I wanted to pay off a line of credit for putting in some home improvements in my lake house. I wanted to pay down some credit card debt. Clutter. Clutter is one of the greatest strain on your brain, and it's great for positive feng shui. And little did I know that through COVID, I actually tackled quite a few closets and projects. Third was getting rid of some distractions, non-value added activities, and even people or relationships. And when I thought about this program, I was kind of thinking and reflecting back on how I missed the mark on 2020 because I was so derailed. But when I went back to it, I thought, you know what? I really did accomplish this in much more ways than I thought. So on the first worksheet, I want you to look at the curve that Kubler-Ross put together in general anytime we go through change. As you can see with the height of the curve, based on your energy level, what you went through this past year. At the beginning, you may have experienced shock or denial that it happened. I remember very well, March 13th, I was scheduled to travel to Nebraska, and we didn't know if that was going to be possible. You may have experienced anger because, gosh darn it, you couldn't do the things that you wanted to do. Or maybe you had to learn how to work virtually from home with new technology. Maybe you even found yourself bargaining with your boss or your spouse who maybe also had to work from home and you had to bargain with some quality space. Maybe you experienced some depression. I have a good friend who not only lost his job, but is also dealing with some personal challenges with his children. And I really sense that he is going through some depression. So I reached out to him and hopefully we can spend some time together to help him through that slump. Maybe you have already achieved the end result, which is acceptance. I was on a conference call yesterday with some peers, and they were talking about how COVID was really going to affect our industry at least through the first quarter and maybe into summer. And the goal is ultimately to have acceptance of any change, whether it's COVID, whether it's a job change, or personally. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to launch another poll. And in this case, what I'd like to do is ask you a different question. Let me see if I can do this here with another one. All right, relaunch polling. Gonna learn how to walk and talk at the same time. All right. Oh, Dana, how do I do that? Let me see. Here we go. Now, let's try it out. So where are you on the Kubler-Ross change curve? I'll give you about 30 seconds and then I'll close the polling. And your responses are anonymous, and this is a no judgment zone. I'll give you another 10 seconds. Thank you for participating. All right. Going to end now. We had 96% participate, all but one more person. All right, great. Thank you. Let me share with you the results. So I am pleased to know and proud of you that you have achieved acceptance. How many of you have ever said it is what it is? We are really bound by either getting the vaccination or getting the COVID virus itself. But I also, and Dana helped me with this, it depends on the day. I know that there's been days where I've had that roller coaster. So thank you for realizing that it oftentimes is a roller coaster. All right, let me share that, stop sharing that, and move on. Communication is critical. Earlier in the year, we did a webinar called Managing a Virtual Team, and helping managers, leaders, business owners going through COVID from a business perspective, I thought would be important to revisit today. The first strategy is clarity, because when we are in times of uncertainty, like any time of change, people want to know there is a plan. And I adapted this exercise. Originally, when we did it, we focused on employees, but I really feel that coming into the holidays, and you're going to have an opportunity to communicate and interact with your family and your friends, we're going to need to have some untraditional traditions at holiday. So I want you to think about, what is your personal and professional plan? For instance, that week that I was talking about in mid-March, when Dana and I were scheduled on that Friday to do our monthly webinar, and I think it was about being the mid-manager, and we retooled and decided, you know what, they aren't going to be interested in this topic. We quickly retooled, and together with a wonderful partner, created a brand new program called the 7 Strategies for a Productive Virtual Workplace. And I want to acknowledge Dana and Audrey. Together, we designed, launched, and invited, and had 1,400 registrants. And it was an extremely tiring but rewarding experience. Another piece that we did was came up with 2-minute tune-ups. Maybe some of you have listened to them. And this was Dana's idea. She thought, we've got to reach out to give them some little dose of motivation. So both of these have now been archived out on our website, Inspiring Solutions, and will also be posted out on the JERHR group webinar or website as well. The second strategy for communication is to provide comfort. In times of disconnect, and COVID really caused people to feel disconnected. They want to feel appreciated. So knowing that people are giving their best, they're learning about new technologies, they're maybe making new policies and procedures, things that have been unprecedented. There were no best practices to work with. And because of this strain both physically and emotionally with COVID, we need to make sure that people take care of themselves. A lot of our work is done in healthcare. And if you know of anyone who works in, and for those of you who are joining us today that are in healthcare, thank you. You have gone above and beyond the call of duty. Another application I want you to realize is that kids are affected too. This happened to be a cartoon in the Des Moines Register a few weeks back. And it's a husband and wife, and he's saying, take a look at this. The picture of contentment as they look out and they see their child. Oh, to be a kid again, trouble-free, not a worry in the world. Well, in reality, they too are affected. They're affected at home. You know, mom and dad don't know how to fix this, which usually they find comfort in that. They've had to learn how to go to school. In fact, this coming weekend, I'm going to help my granddaughter get through her world lit and physics class online because she stalled, and it's going to be a learning experience for both of us. So remember, kids are affected too. And the third strategy to help people get through change is through inspiration, because in times of fear, people want to work or live in a safe team environment. And I broadened the team to include your family. So if you're a manager, you need to think about, how are you staying in touch with your team? Dana and I, a team of two, we did a lot of phone calling. We were calling at the beginning of the day. We call at the end of the day. Even now, this week, we do a lot of chats, whether it's through phone or texting. This is an example of how a client invites me to join them on a weekly basis. This was our checkup yesterday. It was kind of fun because we had a chance to check in. We talk about what is good news. And I think so much of our world has dealt with bad news. So one of our roll calls was we had to go around each week and share something good. So it could have been something good with our business. It could have been something good with our team or our family. But how are you checking in or checking up with your family, with your friends on a regular basis? So the last worksheet that I wanted to go through is to give you a prescription for 2021. And we intentionally created a RE for these three options to help you reset your expectations, refocus your energies for a more healthier, happier new year and normal, whenever that might be. I created this worksheet. In fact, I want to thank Dana for making it look so good. I created this worksheet for not only you to use, but I also could see you giving this to your family or to your team. It has not only the attitudes we want you to take, but the actions to really think about and process. So let's start with, first of all, learning from your past. The word that I chose that I feel will give you the right mindset is to recognize. And by that, I mean, what did you learn about yourself over this past year? I learned that I love creativity and I like a challenge, so I thank again, Dana, for helping me retool and really create some new and exciting solutions for our clients. What did you appreciate about your experience? I'm thankful that we actually put all of our files in the clouds. We had started doing that a couple years back. So thanks to Office 365, we were much more prepared for Dana to work from her home than had we not done that. And then the third question to really reflect and recognize is, who was helpful and supportive of you at work? And so by now you can see that I really appreciate what Dana does. I call her my Louise in our Thelma and Louise team, because sometimes I'll get going on a path and she just straps in and hangs on, and we really don't know what it's going to come up with. And more recently, we've been described as the Louise or Laverne and Shirley from our new friends at JER HR Group. I also want you to think about who has been helpful and supportive to you at home. Maybe it's your spouse who also has some challenges, but you have some quiet, intimate times. If you live alone, maybe it's your cat, maybe it's your dog. I will say that my dogs give me great comfort on a daily basis. But maybe if you don't have any pets around you, maybe you have a close friend or a family member that you reach out to on a regular basis. This is a picture of a significant moment in my past year. Believe it or not, this young lady is celebrating 100 years. Her name is Jeanette Frost, and she lives alone in St. Louis. So Greg, my significant other, flew us down. My cousin is on the left, Susan, and we celebrated this woman's 100th year. But that helps me just know that you need to reach out to those people and help celebrate and share their joy, which leads to number two. The second part of this experience is to understand yourself and learn how to rejoice. The reason that I think this is appropriate, because Joy to the World is one of my favorite Christmas carols, is I want you to look inward and really analyze, how do you feel about your current situation? And the curve that we had you participate in is helpful, but on a daily basis or even on an hourly basis, what word would you use to describe your attitude? Today I'm anxious. And the reason that I'm anxious, I probably am anxious anytime I present. I don't get nervous, but I have a lot of energy that I want to portray. And it's really oftentimes difficult to do that through the Zoom because I can't move. I'm oftentimes walking and talking when I'm presenting. Secondly, this was last week's tune-up. I talked about what brings you joy. And if you want to watch, it's actually, I filmed it while walking on the beach. And I challenged people to think about what brings you joy that you do by yourself. So I love hearing the sounds of the ocean. But if you can't hear the sounds of the ocean, maybe it's music. I've been playing Christmas music for probably the last 2 weeks. Also, second, what brings you joy, or who brings you joy? Maybe it is that significant other or your family or your friends. And the third, I'd ask you to think about, what is it that you do that brings you joy? My mom was an artist, and one of the things that I want to do more of is draw. And maybe it's just doodling, but learn how to recognize what brings you joy and find in your crazy world moments of joy. And then the last part of rejoice is to find out, what are you most thankful for in your life? We've just gotten through the Thanksgiving season, but I found this more recently and I sent it off to my grandkids because I really think it's important. So many times we get wrapped up into the gifts, and really the real presence in life is summarized by this quote, that it's the year to not get everything that you want. This is the year to appreciate everything that you have. A roof over your head, a nice warm bed to crawl into at the end of the night, or a good meal once, twice, or 3 times in a day. Creating memories. Again, I have made a commitment over the past couple years to not give my grandkids gifts for Christmas and birthday. How many of you stress out? I stress out, I labor about what they need, what they want. And what I've decided was, a couple years back, I want to give you an incentive to do good in school and be kind at home. And as a result, we would go on this cruise. So although we didn't go in over Thanksgiving, we currently have it scheduled for their spring break in March. I'm not convinced that it's going to work. We are all about creating memories. And the third is to plan your future. And you'll see that there's the biggest space here, because you can only learn from your past, recognize or rejoice your present, and really spend the most time with your future. So to really help you move comfortably and confidently into 2021, give thought to these questions. Where in your life do you need to put more energy? And there's several areas that you can consider, and you can choose as many as you'd like. Maybe it's with your self-care, diet and exercise. Maybe it's through relationships, personal or professional. Maybe you need to learn some new skills with technology. Maybe you need to learn something about your job or get a degree. What a great time to get online education. Maybe it's spiritual. Maybe you've kind of lost your center. Financial. One of the things that you always want to do at the end of the years is get your financial matters in order. And maybe it's something that you want to move forward more specifically. The second area is to think about what would be an indication of your progress or success. Financially, I keep track of mine on a monthly basis, and I've set out some financial goals that I'll be honest, I didn't hit this year, but at least I know where I'm at. Third, who or what can help you start or complete this outcome? Maybe you need to seek out a financial advisor. Maybe you need to seek out some medical advice. And there's nothing wrong with even going to a psychiatrist, because I think in times of great chaos, it's not the weak, but the strong that realize it takes a village to get through this world. And then finally, when will you be content with this initiative? And I want to share with you something that Dana and I did a couple years ago. It's called a vision board, and it's an exercise that we did. We brought a bunch of magazines and we put them on the table, and then we kind of just went through and we cut out pictures or images. And I've had this posted in my office for the last 2 years. And you'll see that at the top was how to sell your business. And I put down a goal of 2025. Well, that exceeded my expectations because I'm proud to have done that or accomplished that this year. So a vision board, I would encourage you to do personally, professionally, as a family, and then post it somewhere. Because if everything was perfect, you would never learn and you would never grow. So I'd like to launch one more poll to see from those 3 areas where you would feel the most appropriate to exert your energy. And again, I'll give you 30 seconds to pick one of the 3 attitudes and actions that you would prescribe yourself to work on first. Give you another 10 minutes. We've got 50% of votes in. Thank you. All right. Thank you for participating. Let me share the results are in. 32% of you said rejoice, which is very appropriate for this holiday season. And 68% of you are going to put energy into redirecting. So thank you for participating. Here's my challenge to you. Take action. If you think it, ink it, and you will achieve it. Get moving in 2021. So to do so, spend some quiet time completing this worksheet. Maybe take a cup of coffee or hot tea. Sign and date it at the bottom. Then to hold you accountable, share it with somebody else. They can even help guide you or offer some suggestions. Post it somewhere like I did with my vision board as a reminder of what you'd like to do. I'll also invite you to send it to us. We can hold you accountable. We can periodically check in with you. And a bonus would be to pick a word of intention for 2021. I haven't gotten my word yet, but I'm going to share it with you in the new year. So stay in touch. We invite you to stay on the webinar afterwards. It's something that we're going to start doing moving forward. So you don't have to sign off right away. You can unmute, or I know that there's been some activity on the chat box, but we want to hear from you. We also want to stay in touch with you. So the next page, or one of the last pages in the handout, has our upcoming flyer. Feel free to share it with others. We use the same link every month. So if you know of anybody who you think would benefit from this, we're going to repeat this webinar again at the top of 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock Central Time. Our next month, we're excited to have one of our new partners join us. Sandy Bateman is going to talk about let's start 2021 off right by doing a stop. And at the end, when you log out, we'd like for you to take a few minutes. If you're the first attendance, or if this is your 15th attendance, we want to hear from you. Offer some suggestions to make this learning experience valuable, and also to help us plan and meet your challenges for 2021. We want to know what's going on in your world. And as promised, one of the things we're going to do is offer a gift. But I want to give you some gift suggestions. To your enemy, give them forgiveness. To an opponent, give them tolerance. To a friend, open your heart. To a customer, commit to service. And to all, charity. To every child, be a good example, whether you're their mom, their dad, their grandparent. And to yourself, another RE, respect. Now it's time to turn it over to Dana, and we are going to put a drawing, all the names of you that are participating, into a hat. And we're going to draw a name, and then afterwards we will be giving you we'll mail you an inspiring gift.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen. And
Let's see if I need to
practiced.
Hang on here. I think I need to give you some control here, right?
Okay.
Can
control Give me some control.
What's that?
Give me some control.
There you go. How's that?
Okay. Here we go.
We continue to learn through this Zoom technology. Here we go.
Should I play some music here?
All
and the
right.
winner is Tracy.
Yay, congratulations. Well, again, you're all winners, and we wish you a very blessed holiday season and the very healthiest and happy new year. We have enjoyed your participation today, and feel free, if you'd like to stay on, you can unmute yourself, or I'll play holiday music, whichever you'd prefer.